Okay, we want to just continue on along the same lines. It's interesting that when getting these things together for Shabbat, you know we didn't sit down and share each other's thoughts and scriptures what we was going to be bringing, but there was some of the same thoughts, some of the same scriptures, some of the same ideas that be shared between the two of us, the two things that we um, what John shared the last two lessons and what I have here. Because when we think about Sukkot, we think about this time, um, that's what this time is actually about. Sukkot is, renewing your spirit, or what I'm going to be talking about is refinement. Refinement. We're dealing with refinement. So when we remember the wilderness experience, the role that the wilderness experience plays in the lives of ancient Israel, that thing that the wilderness did for ancient Israel was refine Israel. The Most High took a people out of Egypt, and the people who left Egypt, it wasn't the same Israel who made it to the promised land. Right? There was people who died in the wilderness. There was a whole generation of people that died in the wilderness. When you look at Israel as a whole, and you think about that whole idea, Israel as a whole was being refined. The impurities was dying off. All of those people and the attributes and characteristics that those people possessed, those things that was contrary to the will of the Father, those things got swallowed up in the wilderness. So when we remember the wilderness, and when we try to have some type of spiritual understanding of what the wilderness experience means for us in our lives, it has to be that. It has to be that refining process. When we think about the idea of us and our lives with Messiah moving forward towards the promise, this life that we live is about refinement. It's about growth. It's about going from, starting at one point and making it to the finish line and doing all of the things that's necessary to get from start to finish. So we want to do a little bit of a review. It's review for those that was here, and is new for people who wasn't here, but we're going to just start from the beginning and move forward. Let's look over. We're going to read Deuteronomy 8 and 2. Deuteronomy 8 and 2. And let me know you're ready. I'm not going to try to put it on the screen because I don't think I am. I don't know how I could do it. Let me see. Hold on a second.
Or maybe I could.
You able to put it up there?
Yes, sir.
I mean, nice if you did. Okay. Oh yeah. Oh, if you can make it. Oh yeah, that's the move right there. Okay, Deuteronomy 8 and 2. What's that say?
It says, and you shall remember that Yahweh Elohim led you all the way these 40 years in the wilderness to humble you, prove you, to know what is in your heart, whether you guard his commandments or not.
So when we look at what the wilderness experience represents, what it literally represented, what it literally did for Israel was to humble Israel, was to prove Israel, and to know what was in the heart of Israel. So when you talk about the idea of proving or humbling, you're going through things, right? You're going through these different tests and trials. And again, we think about Israel as a whole. Some individuals didn't pass the test, right? Some individuals didn't pass the test when they went through these different things and they died. But when we think about Israel as a whole is being refined. So when we think about ourselves, when we recall the wilderness experience, which is what we do when we keep Sukkot, we recall what was in the wilderness experience. Pull up Leviticus 23, 42, and 43. Leviticus 23, 42, and 43.
Dwell in booths for 7 days. All who are native born in Israel dwell in booths, so that your generations know that I made the children of Israel dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim. I am Yahweh your Elohim.
It says, so that your generations know that I made the children of Israel dwell in booths when I brought them. So we're doing this thing that causes us to remember what was done in the wilderness. So it's important to remember what was done in the wilderness. And what was done in the wilderness, Israel was humbled and proved. Israel was refined. So we want to think about the idea as far as individuals is concerned. We want to think about the idea of refinement. We want to work on, we want to have like in the forefront of our minds at Sukkot, the idea of refinement, right? So let's just see real quick. Refinement actually means the act of purifying by separating from a substance all extraneous matter, a clearing from dross, dregs, and recrement, as the refinement of metals and liquors or liquors. So when you think about metals being refined, the process is they'll heat the metal up, right? The metal will get heated up, and then all of the impurities, as the thing becomes liquefied, all the impurities kind of get rise to the top, and then you kind of let skim those things off, right? So when you think about heat, applying heat to a situation, heat is pressure. You know, the molecules, when they sit up there and rub up against each other really fast, you know, that's how things get heat up, agitated. Pressure. So that pressure happens to the metal, and then the impurities kind of rise up to the top. So when you think about it from a perspective of looking back at Israel, these things were happening. These uncomfortable things were happening to Israel, so that it says, so that the Most High said, so that He will know what's in their heart. So they're going through these things, these pressures are happening, and then now how do the people react? Israel was out there eating this manna and having to depend on the Most High, and being fed by the Most High, and then a lot of times we see with the people, they get into, as soon as you have all of these kind of pressure situations going on, the murmuring starts. Look, we're sitting out here. They done Moses done brought us out here to die. Should have left us back there. When the pressure is happening, right? When everything's good, before all of that, whatever you say, we'll do it. Before they know what they agreeing to, right? It don't matter. Whatever you say, we'll do it. They get out there, and then that pressure happens. Now what's going to happen? Right. So when we can think about that very easily in our own life situations. When you don't have nothing coming against you, it's easy to say, wow, this really seems like what we should be doing. This is the right way to go. And then life happens. And then that's when the proverbial rubber meets the road. And you put these things to the test. Is the Most High going to be there? Am I going to trust in the Most High? Because he actually is going to be there. But are we going to be able to trust in the Almighty at all times? That was the main issue with Israel. It wasn't as if the Most High wasn't there dwelling with Israel in the wilderness. He was always there. But sometimes the people trusted in him, and sometimes they didn't. Sometimes they remembered who it was that brought. It seemed like Moses always had to remind them, I'm the one who brought you out of the land of Egypt. I'm the one who did it. They forgot. It's so, it's crazy. It's crazy how pressure makes you forget about the Most High. How easy pressure can make you flip your focus. When you don't have nothing coming against you, it's easy to be focused. It's easy to concentrate on the task. I need to go over there. I need to go up that hill. There's a fence over there. Make the whole plan out before you go and do it. But then as soon as you get to the street, a car comes. It causes you to have to move a little bit. And then now you forgot the path that you was taking. But we have to be able to keep our eye on the Almighty. Right? We can't allow these pressures and things to cause us to veer to the left or to the right. And so again, we at this time have to be in the thought process of refinement, of getting rid of these impurities inside of us. Right? Let's look at let's pull up Isaiah chapter 1, 25 and 26. Isaiah 1, 25 and 26.
It says, and I shall turn my hand against you, and shall refine your dross as the lye, and shall remove all your alloy. And I shall give back your judges as the first, and your counselors as at the beginning. After this, you shall be called the city of righteousness, a steadfast city.
So when we just think about the idea of refining. The refining process is an uncomfortable process. It's not something that feels good, right? It's something that actually is the opposite of feeling good. If we talk about it from a physical standpoint, it hurts. If we talk about doing exercise to fix our physical bodies, it no pain, no gain. If you not breaking your muscles down, they're not going to build up. They got to be broken down so that they can build up. So how much more so when we think about it from a spiritual perspective? Again, we think about this idea of refining metals. that fire has to be applied to the situation. Uncomfortableness has to be applied to the situation. There's no way that you can sit up here and talk about removing things out of your situation and it just be just like, just done. No pain, no pressure, no sacrifice. Right? There's sacrifices involved. Right? There's pain involved in the thing. But you got to go through all of that in order to get to the other side. Again, we look at Israel. Again, Israel as a whole, parts of Israel was cut off. If you think about Israel as a whole body, parts of the body got cut off to make it through the wilderness. So the same thing is true in us. In fact, we must expect for parts of us. It might be parts you like. It might be parts of yourself that you actually like.
Are you comfortable or you content?
Right. Well, you
popular parts that other people.
Right. Yeah.
talk about it. Just stuff you might be known for a thing. Meanwhile, that's actually, in all actuality, is actually the worst part about you. But that's what you're known for. And then you just, you keep that thing going. But at Sukkot, at this time, we supposed to actually be honestly looking at ourselves because we done came through. We think about trumpets and atonement. We came through this whole thing of declaring judgment. The first thing we had to do is declare it to ourselves. And we readied ourselves for this 7th month. Right? And then we accept the forgiveness that's offered to us, right? Repentance, and atonement. We accept all of these things. We think about how what the Most High does for us. He puts us in, like it talks about in Revelation. Let me just go there. I gotta sit up here and try to remember what it says. Revelation 19. Revelation 19. Let's see what verse it is. Revelation 19, 7 and 8. You might read that. Well, you read it. Revelation 19, verse 7 and 8. Go ahead.
John.
Oh.
I didn't change nothing.
Oh, there you go. Here, you changed it.
All right. 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Let us be glad and rejoice and give him praise, for the marriage of the Lamb has come, and his wife prepared herself. And to her it was given to be dressed in fine linen, clean and bright, for the fine linen is the righteousness of the set apart ones.
Okay, very good. So the bride, the people of Yah, his people, the bride, it says, have made herself ready. And to her was granted that she should array in fine linen, clean and white. So think about the fact that when we come and what did it say? What did it say that was? What did it say after the clean and white part?
That if the fine linen is righteousness. That's what you.
Yeah. It was the fine linen is the righteousness of the set apart ones. So when you think about that, we receive our righteousness from Messiah. Yeshua is who gives us our righteousness. So in all actuality, Yeshua is giving us our fine linen garments, the righteousness that we receive from him. And then he said, go ahead out into the world. But it also say made himself ready. So we not walking around jumping in mud puddles with our fine white linen on, right? We keeping that thing nice and white. If we get it dirty, we have an advocate. Messiah is able to forgive us of all mud that we get on our white linen. But we're not supposed to be walking around in the mud. We're supposed to be avoiding it. Oh, it's muddy over there. I ain't trying to walk through that. I'm trying to keep my white linen, the righteousness of Elohim, pure, right?
It's like you would try to keep some white sneakers clean.
Yeah, same thing. Well, we're talking about white linen or Jordans or whatever, right? Oh, you got your little toothbrush ready and you sitting there, you getting that stuff up off of there, right? How much more so, right? So when we think about this, we have to walk around. This is what we talk about when we talk about refinement. Is that we can't continue to go and walk through the mud. Because you be walking through the mud. You be walking through the mud. But there ain't no thing. I'll just go ahead and just, I'll deal with getting the dry cleaner. The bill ain't really that much. I can just deal with it after the fact. Right? But when we talk about refinement, we talk about avoiding these things because it's comfortable to just go. It's easy just to go ahead and say, well, if I just go ahead, if I fall, I could just get back up again. It ain't no big deal. If I fall, like we preparing to fall. Yeah, you got a whole plan, just planned out, ready. Like if I fall, I'm gonna do this, and that's how I'm gonna get back. Like, but we supposed to be planning how not to fall, and then if perhaps we happen to fall, then now you talking about something. But if we're talking about refinement, if we're talking about the process of purifying ourselves, in terms of purifying our mind and purifying our hearts, right? We have to be planning to avoid the mud, right? We have to plan on getting away from these things. And again, those things can be uncomfortable because that's why people like us, because I'm like this, like this, that's just who I am. Everybody's different, nobody's the same. I can't be like you can't be like whatever, right? But there's one standard of righteousness, and if we all doing that one standard of righteousness, we're kind of looking the same while we're doing it, kind
Twins out
of. Right? Yeah. Yeah. So again, we have to not kind of shy away from the uncomfortableness. In fact, if we're saying that we're trying to keep our white linen garments clean, we actually should be moving towards the uncomfortableness.
I was going to say, like, if it's not uncomfortable, then something's wrong. Like as far as it shouldn't be a smooth sail surviving in the world. I mean, because we do live in it, but it shouldn't be so like smooth for you. The enemy's not attacking or trying to like. You're obviously on that side of the building. You're not going to attack his own. You're his own. You all to the good.
Yeah. I mean, think about, again, the wilderness. When the other night when we stayed outside, it was freezing cold out there. Like it was cold outside. But just on the strength of it's tabernacles, and I'm supposed to be bringing my physical body to an uncomfortable place. I got up inside of my sleeping bag. I didn't put no PJs on. I had my full clothes on, hoodie, sleeping bag zipped all the way up, hoodie tight, just my face sticking out, my sleeping bag over my head, blanket over top of that. Cold. I was telling John, never got comfortable.
Yeah.
It was just doable. But just on the strength of that lesson that you get, that this time is about uncomfortableness. Quiet as it's kept. We kind of cheating a little bit with this little luxury cabin over there, right? I mean, there's degrees of uncomfortableness, but the point is about this place this time is to experience that uncomfortableness, because it's pointing us to the spiritual significance of actually bringing our body to some uncomfortableness so that we can grow, so we can take ourselves out of our normal kind of comfort and all the things that we have access to that we go and get.
Wi-Fi.
Well, I mean, we kind of got.
Oh, we don't have that on the rest of it.
Yeah, you guys are y'all doing it, boy. Y'all keeping that law, boy, down the hill.
Walking in the shower by myself, I was like slightly scared. I was like, you know what? The girl was gonna walk me. I'm like, no, go ahead. I'm gonna go ahead and do this just because. You know what I mean? Like, it lifted my spirit. Like when I woke up this morning, I said, you know what? It wasn't that bad because I made it. And I'm not big because I'm doing it for a whole different purpose. The purpose behind it is just like.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's only it's only a lesson to cause you to think about something that's spiritual, right? We do this physical thing, and it's literally cold outside. It's literally dark out there. The boogeyman's off up in the woods and all of that. All of those things are true. But we're doing those things in order to cause us to think about what is to be going on inside of us from a spiritual perspective. Where we're able to get to a place where my motivation was the experience. I'm experiencing this to cause me to think about something more. Right? So when we get to that place to think about things from a spiritual perspective, that's how we got to sit up here and look through our hardships or look through this thing that I like about myself, but I know got to go. And when you sit up there and you're going through the pain of getting rid of these things, the motivation is the Most High is going to smile on me as I'm going through. He's going to strengthen me while I'm going through, and he's going to smile on me as a result of me walking in obedience and getting to the other side.
It's like going to that land. It's like
Yeah. Right. Okay, so thinking back to Isaiah 1:25 and 26, we talked about talked about this idea of refining and getting the dross or the impurities off. But another part of that is where it says, and I shall give back your judges as at the first, and your counselors as at the beginning. After this, you shall be called the city of righteousness, a steadfast city. It's interesting when you look at Israel as a whole, and we looked at, was it last night or this morning? We looked at Ephesians chapter 4.
That was last night.
That was last night. So last night, when we looked at Ephesians chapter 4, and we looked at this whole idea of the body, right, as a whole. The same thing is true over here in Isaiah chapter 1:25 and 26, in terms of this place that became a city of righteousness. We have this idea of community where you have people to sit up there and say, hold on, you kind of moving left a little bit, you need to move over here or something. You kind of veering off to the side, you need to just, you know what I'm saying, you need to you straight tripping, you need to not be doing that, and you need to be doing this, right? When we think about the idea of Israel as a whole, of community, we're a group of individuals who have a common goal of getting to the land over there. And we are concerned with each other. We should be concerned with each other. I hope somebody's concerned about me. I'm concerned about you. Right? So there's correction that's involved in that. You should expect to be corrected. That's uncomfortable, ain't it? Somebody sit up and say, hold on, man, You can't do that. You can't be doing that. Hold on, I can do whatever I want to do. That's how we be, right? But what is that though? That's pride though, ain't it? How you gonna sit up here and tell me what I'm supposed to be doing? I've been on this earth since 19 whatever. Michael, but when we look in Isaiah chapter 1, 25 and 26, when it's talking about the city being called, it says, after this you shall call the city of righteousness and steadfast city, after the judges are reinstated, after the counselors of Israel are reinstated, after the Most High's community is put back together. And that same thing is true when we look at Ephesians chapter 4. Let's see. Chapter 4, verse 11. We read it again because we want to pull out. Ephesians chapter 4, verse 11.
And he himself gave some as emissaries, and some as prophets, and some as evangelists, and some as shepherds and teachers, for the perfecting of the set apart ones.
Hold on. He put these people in place for the perfecting of the set apart ones. Not so that the people could feel certain kind of way about themselves, but it says for the perfecting of the set apart ones. Keep going.
To the work of service, to a building up of the body of the Messiah.
This is about building up the body of Messiah. It's about bringing all the people into perfection. Keep on going.
Until we all come to the unity of the belief and of the knowledge of the Son of Elohim, to be a perfect man, to the measure of the stature of the completeness of Messiah.
Okay, hold that right there. So when you think about the idea of becoming a perfect man, when you could think about the idea of coming to the measure of the stature of the completeness of Messiah, that don't include you sitting somewhere in your wherever you sitting at and rising to some level of righteousness on your own. This whole thing is about community and about accountability and people holding other people accountable. Me holding you accountable, you accepting me holding you accountable, and vice versa.
Isn't there a part in the word that say lead? Is it lead not on your own understanding? What does it say?
Right.
I mean, like how you gonna especially just especially transitioning, how you gonna know, like, and you can't come in thinking you can teach yourself. If that's the case, then I mean, a lot of people.
But I'm saying that it's not even about, you right what you're saying, but it's not even about just coming in. Just in general. It's not about individuals in this thing. It's about Israel making it to the promise. And Israel's not a one individual. Israel is a community.
But when you come into this law and you're used to having that individualistic attitude and mindset, it's not, I won't say it's hard, it's not hard, but it takes for to be purged from you.
It could be hard.
Accept that.
It could be hard.
To accept that community.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you might buck against it, but
You can say that.
hard to accept that.
Yeah. It's uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what we're talking about.
Doing it and being on your own.
That's what we're talking about, though. We're talking about that. It is that. You don't even gotta say, well, it could be. There's sometimes kind of it is that. But we have to be able to understand that that's the way this thing is set up in the scriptures. Israel is a nation. And when we seen over there in Isaiah chapter 1, it said I shall give back your judges as at the first. That's how it used to be, right? And then when this thing comes back to its final glory, it's gonna be that way again.
But look, listen to this.
Yeah.
What do judges do?
Judges judge.
And what do our people hate?
You better not judge me. You better not judge me. All that.
Ordained judges to judge righteously or tell them that they were to, was it Moses wanted help, or who was it Moses that wanted help?
No, it was Moses' father-in-law who wanted Moses to have help.
Right, but he was told to judge righteously. Right?
Yeah.
So that whole thing, only God can judge me.
It don't make any sense.
Or even what's the other one? I don't judge. But if you're judging from the Most High,
I be judging people.
if you're judging from the Most High, according to the word, you're supposed to judge your brother or your sister.
Yeah.
But you don't love them.
Yeah, but that thing goes both ways though. You got to be somebody to be up there and say you going left, but the same person, the other person got to be like, yeah, you right, I am going left. Now, like I ain't going left. You think it's left, but if you turn around, it's really right.
You say it's turn around.
And you know what else? We got to understand that the scriptures also tells you, if I see one of my brothers fall into sin, go pull it back out. How could I do that without judging righteously? Because if that was the case, that we can't judge. We judge. We weren't supposed to let you go out there and get hit by a car. If I love you enough, I'm not gonna let you.
What's the beam in the spec scripture? What is it?
Oh, you act like you got bumpers on your hips. Get your behind up the street. I'm just telling them, yo, something's coming in.
How you want to be told.
Right. It's the way you do it. It's the righteous way to do it. Wrong way.
But also that's true what you're saying. But also you could be saying it as right as it could be said, but in my pride and that uncomfortability could make the right thing sound wrong.
But what did I tell you when we had that conversation about me being stubborn, not going to come? I had to call Krista back, like, you know what?
You blocked my number for a couple of
I
weeks.
said,
Hold on, you wasn't supposed to say all
I was so stubborn. I silenced her, not blocked her.
it's different. You was on silent.
You being told what you're supposed to. I know she was going to tell me what I'm supposed to hear, not what I wanted to hear. And me being stubborn, like because I couldn't no longer come for the week, I'm like, I ain't coming at all. I mean, I don't stay in no. I sick. And literally the spirit, like I told her I was fun with it. I told her it was not for discussion. And then the spirit was like, when I say he just like really chastised me, I called her back like, I'll be there. And I don't know why I did this. I was being stubborn, but I even told her like, keep doing what you're doing. Like you're doing it.
That's why you used to know rustic. You use the gold and diamonds and all that.
I'm used to doing things my way. His way is not going to be my way. It's his way. It's not how what you used to, what you want to do. It's what I want you to do, whether good or not. And I'm not going not good and end up how my life been in the past. But I had to tell her like, keep going what you're going to. You're just like, don't get disturbed. You're going his work and it's not for nothing. So,
One thing I can say, like, no matter how much you buck against her, what she say,
whoa.
or she still want to be like persistent. Like, well, this is true. Like, I had made a bunch of she said, well, you gonna call her? I'm like, no, I'm not right now. She said, well, you have to call her. Are you gonna call her? I'm like, Krista. I took it off of her. Come on, talk to us right now.
She said, she was like, are you police? I feel like I'm being policed right now. That's what she said.
In the break room, what did you do?
I'm in a
Okay.
like, so, butter me up. You know, I love you. I'm like, what's your stuff?
But she don't give advice from the world, and that's what I respect about her and her. As far as any advice she gives you or anything she tells you is straight from the word. Like her personal opinion, she very seldom gives her, but she do show that to her.
You know what? It's good to know that she is other people's mother too. No, I'm saying she is a mother.
Even if you says conviction, you deny it, you want to admit it, you still have to go back when you know you're right.
Yeah.
That spirit will make you do that.
Yeah.
When you're really getting to the point where you're getting in line with the Most High, you call him out there. Whenever you do something wrong, like as soon as you make it right. Like I mean, down to like, because I've been telling myself, all right, be more patient than you did. So if I yell or something, I'm like, I'm feeling bad. I'm feeling too big. Just because I keep playing, be more patient, you know. So with him, I know this. All that yelling stuff, I haven't been doing it.
Yeah. So we have to, one of the things that we have to do when we think about the idea of refinement is be able to allow others to be able to speak into your life, because you don't have all the answers. You can't, we talked about the mirror the other night. You can't always see yourself. You need a mirror or somebody who's looking at you.
And you can't pick what mirror is allowed to look at you.
Nope.
You can't be like, that mirror can tell me. Only this mirror can like talk to me.
Yeah, your favorite mirror. I look real nice in that one over there. Let me look at that
It's
one.
like that filter on your phone. You pick the filter that makes you look the best.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Everybody's the same.
I'm gonna tell you this about that, right? So
Yeah.
back in the day, when you was out here doing what you do, whatever that is, and it wasn't right, it was wicked, you always would find somebody that would agree with you.
Yeah.
When you wanted to do something wrong, that you knew you was wrong, you was being convicted about it, you go talk to that one person that you knew. Like, yeah, you should do that.
But in my whole, that's the thing, in my whole transition, I can't even talk to nobody outside of, like, it has to be somebody that I know is inspiring, like that's gonna pull me and not give me what I'm used to. So prior to me even getting off my bone with Tersa, like my older cousin, like she always makes me proud, makes it so uncomfortable, but I know that's what I need. Like I can't be comforted. Like I've been comforted, and that's why so many things were prolonged.
And y'all ever hear your peers and your mirrors? Remember that phrase? Your peers are your mirrors. That is true, because I would see myself with a lot of people.
I always kept it 100%, but you know, your mom, you couldn't do no wrong. Mom and your dad.
Man.
So we up here.
Because my mom, I was part of the decor when you walk around. Let me cut up. I was part of it. What you say you want to do before? I'm like, help me. Well, my grandmother couldn't do no wrong with it.
Oh yeah.
Help me. He shot that with an accident.
That's crazy. Y'all say that. I was just talking to my sisters about the difference between a grandparent and a parent. Like that's the structure. The grandparent is where they go and do, you know, the whole thing. That's so funny.
So we talking about this idea of community, right? Of common unity, of accountability, allowing people to hold you accountable for things, and you know this is a community here. We deal with one another, right? So you know this is that thing that we seeing over here. Right, so we should expect from one another for people to say within the community. That's you going left. Let's go right. right? You should expect that, right? You when you sit up there and talk about this whole, finding a mirror, like this is the mirror that you got.
Right.
This right here is the mirror that you got.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Even in my times of recovery, where we had to do certain presentations, and it was on my heart so much to do a certain presentation called "Don't Let Me Down." Where I was telling my peers, my brothers, that were strong in that. Don't let me down. If you see me slipping, hold me accountable, please.
Yeah.
Don't let me down.
Yeah.
And I would kind of push that on all of them. It worked for a while for others, so it fell apart.
But I'm saying that the thing that not only do we have to be able to be there for one another, but we also have to accept one another being there for us, even when it's uncomfortable. In fact, especially when it's uncomfortable.
But if you're humble and you already feel like it's nothing, it ain't gonna bother you when you're getting
Well,
that.
that's a huge if right there. That if is big than a mug.
Easier said than done.
That if big than a mug. If
I was thinking about
if you
a
humble,
couple things
I'm so humble.
about reproof and rebuke and how they really are the same, type of a thing. But I love getting reproof and even rebuke if it's in order, of course, because I want to be refined. I don't want, if there's a problem, I want it to be corrected. I don't want to keep walking in error in a long way that's not right. So it could be hard sometimes to see yourself in the mirror, but at the end of the day, I want to be set right. I want to be set right. I don't want to keep putting my hand on the stove and get burned. You know what I mean? The Most High is a consuming fire. So we got to practice fire safety. So if you don't have Vaseline or something on that's going to protect me, I don't know, Vaseline might get burnt up. I want it to be applied. I don't want to get burnt up.
Yes. And you know the scripture says about a wise man. A wise man heed correction and will appreciate you reward it.
I was like, thank you.
So if you see a booger in my nose, tell me. Only a fool sit there, but I ain't got no booger in my nose. And it's hanging out there, you can run it for everybody. It always takes somebody else.
I only accept it if it comes from such and such and so, not from this person over here.
Yeah.
So, when they used a word that I never heard before, she said, check yourself on the real rap. And I said something, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a rap song. I thought it was a rap song. It wasn't check yourself on the real rap. Now, I didn't know what she was talking about. I thought it was a rap song. I said, what rap song is that? What rap song is that? I didn't know the lingo. But all I'm saying is, look, she said to check. When I found out that it wasn't a rap song, I said, well, what's wrong then? Well, tell me what to check. I need to know. All I'm saying is that not every mirror even talks the same lingo.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't even know what the lingo is. What did you say? No, you said check yourself real rap.
Real rap. Check.
I didn't know what it was. It's a space. It's a space. Okay, see, I don't know the space.
Real rap.
Nobody's saying attitude.
Let's
I didn't get the cadence right.
let's look over here at Colossians chapter 3. Let's look at Colossians chapter 3. Start with verse 4. Colossians chapter 3. Starting with verse 4.
It says, when the Messiah, who is our life, is manifested, then you shall also, then you also shall be manifested with him in esteem. Keep going.
Yeah.
Therefore, put to death your members which are on the earth: whoring, uncleanliness, passion, evil desire, and greed of gain, which is idolatry.
You keep on going.
Uh, or idolatry, my bad. Because of these, the wrath of Elohim is coming upon the sons of disobedience, in which you also once walked when you lived in them. But now also put off all these: displeasure, wrath, evil, blasphemy, filthy talk from your mouths. Do not lie to each other, since you have put off the old man with his practices, and have put on the new one, who is renewed in knowledge according to the likeness of him who created him.
Okay, so when we think about this idea of Messiah who is in us, who is our life, we always have to remember these things that the apostle is sitting up here talking about. We just sat up here and you know, you two of y'all got dunked in the water, right? So over here is talking about, therefore put to death your members. That's what y'all sat up there and did over there, was put to death y'all members. But the thing is that sometimes your members try to make you revive your members and bring them back to life.
Would that be what safe to say? If that immersion shocked the hell out of them?
that's what it's supposed to do, right? But at the same time, in this carnal body, you know, you have sort of a memory kind of reflex that happens, right? So even though you sat there and we drowned that old man back over there in that water over there, it want to come back, and you got to let your members know that the members is dead.
Yeah.
And it's understanding like that. There's been demons that know you, and they'll follow you and instigate you with the things that they know you like and don't like. And they don't know what you like. The Most High know what decision you gonna make before you make it. The demons don't. But they'll taunt you to grab you, to instigate you. Like they know they know what you like to do. They know your face,
They know the type. They know the type you like, the size you like, the look you like. Say everything you wear.
Sure.
Right back.
Yeah.
Hey, Chris, when I was working at McDonald's, people laughing at me and stuff. Oh, you working at McDonald's? Yeah, but I made a lot of money because it gave me about an hour. Bless the job. Every dish I washed, I did it in front of a job. As being a servant, put myself in servant too, right? But then one day I got off early. One of my old friends who was up in the limousine, was tight. So all this money tried to get me to go back to what I was doing. No, but I felt the desire to do it, but at the same time I recognized the demon going right now. That's a temptation, that greed. You know, all that money, and I felt money, and I needed it for time too. He sure you know how to come at you.
Let's talk about that. Go to 2 Corinthians chapter 10. 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 3.
It says, for though we walk in the flesh, we do not fight according to the flesh.
So first of all, when we think about this idea of refinement, we think about this idea, the fact that we done put our members to death already, and we're at this place where we're putting away all those things they talked about back there in Colossians chapter 3. whoring and uncleanness and passion, evil desires, all those things. We have all these physical things that come against us. Meanwhile, the scripture is saying, though we walk in the flesh, and we even have these things that's attacking us in our flesh. We got these things that's going on. Maybe if they're whispering something in our ear, but the thing that they're whispering in our ear got to do with the flesh, telling us about this carnal thing that's over there that feels so good that we need to have. It's telling us about this carnal thing that's over there that feels so good that we need to be doing that thing. We're in the flesh, right? But we're not fighting according to the flesh. That's what it said over there. Verse 4. Read verse 4.
For the weapons we fight with are not fleshly, but mighty in Elohim for overthrowing strongholds.
Okay, so it said the weapons we fight with are not fleshly. So we have these things that's going on. Maybe it is these things that's talking to us, that's telling us that we need to be doing this, that, and the other thing. The thing that is saying is a physical thing because we're in the physical realm. But it says over here, we for the weapons we fight with, the thing that we fight with are not fleshly. The thing that you're being tempted by, that's fleshly, right? But the thing that you're fighting with is actually, it says mighty in Elohim. So we have to, when we say that the Most High is our Elohim, I think this is something that we have to always be thinking about. Because when we actually know, and I'm saying when we know, and the way that you know is actually by walking the thing out. If I say that the Most High is my Elohim, he actually the Most High Elohim actually means mighty one. If I recognize Elohim as my mighty one, how is it that these things, these physical things over here, how is it that I make those things be more mightier than Elohim? Because that's what you do whenever we allow those things to pull us away from the Almighty, tempting us in any way. Whether it be the thing or it be something telling you to go after a thing, either one, you're causing that thing to be greater than the Almighty. Whenever you already declared him as your Elohim, that means there ain't nothing higher than him. If that's what you're saying. If you're saying that Yahweh is your Elohim, there's nothing that's more mightier than him.
Blessed the man who resists the devil. Resist temptation. I experienced that. When I got in an argument with someone in my life, and they tried to get ready to hit me with a banister of all things. And I told them straight up, I rebuke you. You know what they said? Ain't gonna rebuke me. I ain't saying. I said, listen. I said, that's something you do not understand. I said, but you'll be all right. I said, don't worry. Because they didn't see spiritually. They didn't see what I was talking. I knew.
Now, real quick, so quick. She's on there. She's on there like spirits exist. It's a spiritual battle. Like there's this nine-step prayer that takes us. So this one day, I was thinking, my thoughts were it was thinking of so many negative things. I felt like I couldn't control, but I read the nine-step prayer out loud. Like it's saying, I'm reading out loud, and you gotta like transition whoever you think of. You substitute their name, and it's like a repent form too. And so I said, and I meant it. It's not like I was just reading this because I'm reading this from my bottom of my heart. As soon as I got done reading it, when I say I couldn't even find the thoughts that I was thinking about, and I literally could not even find them. So I wasn't looking for them. I'm just saying I couldn't even focus on what I was really thinking about at the beginning. So it really do be them spirits really like you get at the end of the nine-step prayer, you gotta expel them spirits away from you. That's the I was walking around, I was hoping I see nobody probably thinking I'm talking to myself. saying I'm reading this prayer all I was walking, and I couldn't even remember what I was thinking of. Like I couldn't even find my thought, pick up
Right.
where I thought I had left off.
So when we thinking about what you saying, and even coupling with what we was talking about earlier in terms of this whole idea of meditating on the Torah, meditating on the law of Yahweh, having in your mind the words of the Most High ready. If we talking about, your ammunition is ready to go, it's right there, and you ready to use it whenever that, because at the end of the day, we just talking about this verse right here. We have a mighty Elohim, and when we're able to not concentrate on these things, Israel going through the wilderness was concentrating on the things that was going on around. That was real things. You really are thirsty. You really do want something else than manna. Like it's real. It's a real thing. It's real. But when we're able to not focus on these things which are actually real, and focus on Messiah, who's mighty, Elohim, who's mighty for overthrowing strongholds. These things you might always get back to the same spot, the same thought, the same idea, whatever this thing may be that's just holding you down. If you saying that Yahweh is your Elohim, he's mightier than that thing that you thinking about. He's mightier than that. Right? So we have to be able to, combine these two thoughts together. The fact that the Most High is indeed the Most High, and he has already put in place all of our ammunition, and we should all have this stuff always ready to mutter, right? Mutter, and keep his laws in our mouths so that we're able to not concentrate on these things, whatever they may be, and concentrate on the Almighty. Because he says over here, this is a matter of fact over here, right? The weapons we fight with, they're not fleshly, but mighty in Elohim for overthrowing these things that's holding us strongholds. Egypt, we talked about this the other day. Yahweh brought us out of Egypt. When we looked at that word Mitzrayim at the end of the day, when we look at the ancient of that word Mitzrayim, the word pictures the idea of a man on his side with a nail nailing his head into the ground. We think about these idea of strongholds. These things are holding us down and affixing us to, attaching us to carnality. And we want to, for whatever reason, just be stuck in this carnality. And we look at these things that are yes, indeed, they're real, but they cannot hold you down. They can't hold you down because Yeshua done already freed you already. So it's just like we think about in the flesh, people being free from slavery. You're free already. There's no chains holding you. So why you want to sit up here and put the things back on? The only part I don't like about what you're saying is sort of like. Because it is that. That's what it is. It ain't sort of like nothing. That's what it is.
You're making it like you're serving that more than you put that serving to that serve should be all the way
Yeah.
over this way.
And he freed you though. He freed you though already. He killed you. He killed the old man already. He's dead. The old man's dead. But we want to give the dead man power. But he's dead already. He's already been defeated. He don't got no power, the dead man. He's just over there trying to remind you. I'm right over here. Like you, it said, therefore put to death your members. You did it already, but you got to sit up there and remind your members that you're dead. you're dead, right? You got to remind them. Read verse 5 over there.
Overthrowing reasonings.
Okay, just stop right there. Just we talking about strongholds. We done overthrown strongholds with mighty Elohim. But not only these strongholds, but there's different kinds of versions of these stronghold reasonings. Reasonings, those are the worst kinds of things. You can find all kinds of reasons why you supposed to be bound up. You can find all kinds of reasonings. You can make all types of. Let's take that out and just put excuses right over there. You can find all types of excuses why you really ain't free. Well, they saying I'm free, but really you ain't got the kind of problems I got. You ain't been where I've been. You right, I ain't been there. I don't know your life, but I know my life. It ain't your life, it's a different one. But there's some other excuses that I could use that you can't use. But I'm saying ain't none of them good. Mine's or yours.
You know, I say everybody has a story. Someone uses another. But when we pay attention to that story intentionally, we might hear our own.
They different and they the same at the same time.
Maybe different in detail, but the base of it be like it be so similar.
Yeah,
Little jealous Izzy.
yeah, yeah. So again, the only thing we do when we allow these strongholds to hold us, or these reasonings, or these excuses to hold us, is make them things our God, which is idolatry, which is on the list that makes it so that you don't be in the kingdom. Idolatry. Idolatry ain't about always having some piece of thing that you put somewhere that you bow down to. It's not always a thing. Sometimes it's just a reasoning. Sometimes it's just a stronghold of thought, right? But we keep on reading verse 5 right over there.
Overthrowing reasonings and every high matter that exalts itself against the knowledge of Elohim.
Okay, stop right there. So again, idolatry ain't always a thing. Sometimes it's just this high thought, this lofty thought that you're putting up above Almighty. Because it can't be there. It can't be above where he is, but you're putting it there. You're causing that thing to be high and exalted. You're making it a high matter, and you're putting it in the place where only Elohim belongs. Meanwhile, you're supposed to be overthrowing that thing. Right? That's what it says right over there. Overthrowing it. That word in the Greek. What that say? Let me see this here. Overthrowing that thing. I know I got it here somewhere. Overthrow. That so in the Greek, that word overthrow means demolition, extinction. You're literally taking this thing, this stronghold, and making it extinct. That's what you should be doing with the mightiness of Almighty. This is crazy. So you supposed to have been, we talk about these members that you killed, and then now we also talk about this stronghold that you demolished and made extinct, but then yet still got power from somehow. When you made it, you supposed to have been made it extinct and demolished it. You supposed to have brought the thing to rubble. Right? But somehow we doing some kind of witchcraft and causing this thing to be resurrected. I done seen some demolished, I'm in construction. I done seen some things be demolished. You sit up there and demolish a stone thing, is irreversible. The thing has been flattened out, demolished, pulverized. But that's what we supposed to have done through the mightiness of Elohim in regards to these strongholds and these reasonings and these high matters, these things that we're making high. But we're sitting up here resurrecting these things and giving them power over the Most High.
You know, Scott King was right here. So don't laugh at me. When I was growing up, you know how everybody wants to be a sports figure, Dr. J, Magic Johnson. But I told you I brought up in the church. I was getting Jesus. I would go out and let you feel, and I would find dead birds. I ain't touching them. I would try to bring them, bring it right. And my friends would laugh at me, right? And guess what my excuse would be? He ain't give me that much power yet. I'll get it one day. That's all he say. I gotta go back. He ain't give me that much power yet. You know, it just made me think of that and laugh.
That's what we looking at. It's right over here. Read some more of that.
Yeah, the kids.
We just read it. Imaginations, I think, is high matters over in this version.
Right.
Overthrowing reasonings and every high matter or imagination. What else would it say?
That exalts itself against the knowledge of Elohim, taking captive every thought to make it obedient to the Messiah.
Okay, so we supposed to be taking that thing that we made extinct, that thing that we demolished, this stronghold, this reasoning, this imagination, this thing that we done worked up in our minds, because that's all we sitting up here doing is working these things up in our minds and causing these things in our mind to be higher than the Almighty is. And we to be taking that thing, it says taking captive every thought and making it be obedient to Messiah. So when we have these thoughts, whether it's voices, whatever it may be, according to this over here, we're supposed to be taking that thing and making it captive to Messiah. Bringing that thought and making it obedient to Messiah, who is King. Which is another thing that we have to remember in our lives. Messiah is our King. And we can't be sitting up here putting other things, stuff, or whatever on his throne. Because that's where he belongs. He's our ruler. Right? Not this carnality. Read verse 6.
And be ready to punish all disobedience when your obedience is complete.
So when we think about this idea of refinement, right? You know, we talking about these things as if they're matter of fact, because it must be that. You can't sit up here and have any doubts about the strength and power of Messiah that he possesses in and over your life. We can't leave any room for any doubt to get in there. But when we look in here and understand what these scriptures is saying to us, we have this power inside of us. We don't have to be held down by these things that are trying to hold us down. Right? We have to be about purifying our hearts and our minds and doing the things that's necessary for your heart and your mind to be purified. And by the way, when we think about we'll be done with this thought here. Messiah, when he taught, he spoke in regards to agriculture. When we think about the feast days have agricultural significances. So when we think about life in general, we can't ignore this whole thought process of agriculture. So guess what? When in this time right now that we are in, when we think about the agricultural cycles that exist over in the land, this time that we are in is actually sowing season. You put things in the ground right now, and then the rain happens, the rain comes, even the cold comes, it covers it up, and it sits down under the earth and it dies under there, right? And and then by the time springtime comes around, that thing that was buried, that thing that dies under the earth, that's getting water over the cold and winter season because it's snowing, but it's still water, right? It's getting on the top and it's saturating down into the earth and it's feeding that seed that was planted at sowing season, and then at springtime it comes out, right? So in that frame of mind, when we think about where we are in life right now and whatever this is, October 19th, we want to sow in our hearts seeds of refinement, seeds of that's going to cause us to move forward and grow, right? That you want. So if you want to sit up here and look at the seeds that we done planted over here just right now, right? Seeds of faith and new beginnings, right? Right now. So we want to be able to continue those things, right? But just think about that in the reverse now. Think about not you actually sowing seeds of reasonings and strongholds and division and all of sowing these kinds of things. Those things could grow just like anything else, right? So what we want to be doing in this time at this time of year is sowing seeds that cause us to grow and move in the right direction. And what we're saying over here is that we serve a mighty Elohim who's able to cause us to move forward and be victorious in this carnal life that we live in. And there's nothing that's over there that's out here that can actually be greater than the Almighty unless we put it in that place.
You know, I was told a while ago, the seeds turn to plants grown from darkness. You know?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, I was about.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. So that being said, we want to encourage each and every one of you to kind of remember these things that we talked about. Remember, the idea of keeping the words of the Almighty in your mouth, so that when you have these things that are very real in your world, that you have the words of the Almighty to be able to counterbalance these things, remembering the fact that you said that Yahweh is your Elohim and that we can't ever put anything on top of him where he belongs, and that this time, especially at this time of year, that we want to pay special attention to our refinement, that we want to positively and intentionally work on removing the dross from our situation. We want to encourage heat and friction and uncomfortability in our lives so that we're able to grow and become pure in Messiah. Okay. That being said, does anybody have any thoughts or questions about any of that before we're done?
And just to have the equal, the same drive that I have, or that we may have had to things that are not a Most High. This Most High, just make sure you transition that drive to all just dedicated to
I'm saying,
it should never be a struggle. Which it, I mean, it does be, but it shouldn't be a struggle to just give him completely your all.
yeah. I'm saying the only thing I'm adding to what you said had the same drive. I'm saying have more drive. I agree with what you're saying. I'm adding to it. I'm saying more drive. We can't be out here doing things with more passion and more intention than living for the Almighty. You could go ahead and be passionate about a whole bunch of stuff, but be more passionate about living for the Most High.
So there more.
More, yeah, more. Okay. All right, hallelujah.
Shabbat shalom.
Hallelujah.
Bye.